Thank you all. Really, this is the heart of meditation. Staying still as things change. You feel it a lot of times. The instruction is focus on your breath. And part of that is that gives your mind a particular place to focus. So it's harder to wander. But also, when we just watch the breath, we are inherently still. It's the beautiful metaphor of being still while we're watching something that moves. And the more we connect with that, then we can hear sounds outside. We don't jump to it as much. You're like, oh, I'm thinking, and not really get caught into it as much. You can feel something on your skin or in your knee, like, okay, and not get pulled into it as much. The more that we practice this, then it just reinforces that outside of here, because life is always going to change. And we can argue, it can be argued that things are changing at an accelerated pace and continue to change faster and faster and faster and faster. And the grounding that we can set up in ourselves is our best defense. I don't really like that word for it. It's more like our best tool to maintain ourselves when things are changing. Because regardless of who you are, who you think you are, how your life is when you're 5 or 10 or 20 or 40, there's a common stillness. There's a common space inside you that you say, this is me. And I know that this spot right here, this is me. Regardless of what's happening in your life, and certainly the way that I think now is very differently than how I thought 5 or 10 or 20 years ago. Absolutely. But there's a me-ness, not a meanness, a me-ness that is the same. There's that place that I return to, and it's beyond my name. It's not just, oh, I'm Dave. Right? For a long time I went as David, and my parents still have different nicknames for me. Okay, great. But it's beyond the name. It's that it's almost an unnameable place. It's just kind of like, this is who I am. This is when I am testing something against the deeper waters of myself. Is this safe? Is this a good decision? What do I want to eat? There's that deeper knowing that is always there that we may not listen to. Absolutely, there are plenty of times that we may not listen to it or heed its warnings or its advice, but we know it. And there is nothing that can take that away from us knowing that space. The more that we can get in touch with that, and we can feel that it never moves, that's our stillness, as our still point. Everything else can change. And things will change. The way life is going to look in 5 weeks or 5 months or 5 years or 10 years is very different than how it is now, or could be very different, could be very similar. The more that we can stick with, this is who I am, and I'm allowing this to unfold, it allows so much space for us. So much space for us to not fight life. We can work with what's here. So often in the instructions of meditation, I talk about welcoming, being friendly with what shows up. That's another way of saying, I'm still, and whatever's here is cool. Well, many paths to roam on this. Finding that stillness of hey, this is me, then whatever shows up is cool. All right. You don't like it? Cool. You love it? Great. I'm cool either way. This is me. So I will encourage you to practice this. Coming back to that deeper self. And it is common even for the most practiced of yogis, most practiced of meditators, to get lost in ego, to get lost in the day-to-day of stimulus and of what's happening in our life. It's just common. We come back to it. Come back to the space. And the more that we practice that, it's kind of we are training our mind or training our brain to, that's where we're bringing our focus. So things are going to change, always. And the more that we are still within ourselves, the easier it is to flow with the change. So thank you all for stepping in tonight to this practice. Thank you all at home. And I wish you all a lovely evening.